We're joined by SABC News correspondent Nick Harper, who is in Iowa. Nick, good evening. You've had front row seats to all of these developments. Trump named the overwhelming winner of the Iowa caucus. Bearing in mind this is a rural farming community, 3 million people there. What did it for him, do you think?
Yeah, good evening. An incredible win by the former president. It was his first big test, and he passed it with flying colours. That landslide victory, as we heard detailed there by Show, and also a record win, creating a 30 percentage point margin between himself and his second place challenger, Ron DeSantis. It is a very big win. But as you mentioned, here we have this farming community, perhaps not the most representative state of all the 50 US states, a population of just over 3 million in a country of 330 million, and with a population that is predominantly white. About 90% of Iowans are white, many of them evangelical Christians. It isn't a very diverse state, and therefore there is always that question as to whether it is representative enough to be the first in the nation state to be holding these votes to find out who should be leading up the party in November's election. For Donald Trump, though, it certainly cements his position. It shows his dominance within the party, that he still holds incredible sway. The fact that more than half of the state voted for him, and it gives him the ability to move on to the next state contest in New Hampshire, saying that he has many people behind him. The Republican Party still very much backing him, despite those legal challenges that he'll be facing in the coming months, and showing that he is a dominant force that really his rivals cannot compete with. The fact that Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley were 30 percentage points or more off of his lead shows that he has done incredibly well here, beaten those expectations that even his own team were trying to lower in recent days, just in case he didn't get the big win that he was hoping for.
Well, you started there, and just, finish it up, the picture that you can sketch for us about the road ahead and how this moment is so significant and what it means for the election trail going forward.
Well, so this is the first state in the US to have their say about which candidate they want leading the party. We're heading to New Hampshire next. That's in exactly 1 week's time. It'll be the second state contest. And then moving forward, the big one to watch after that will be Super Tuesday on the 5th of March. Donald Trump's team is hoping that by the middle of March, it'll become evident that he has got enough support from all of these state contests during the previous 8 weeks to show that he is the person to become the nominee to challenge Joe Biden. So there's still a little way to go, and his challengers hope that they may be able to do better than they did in Iowa. Nikki Haley in particular is eyeing New Hampshire as a state where she hopes to narrow the gap on President Trump. She thinks that she could get within about 10 percentage points of him, but it's important to note that it is still expected that she will come second, with Trump coming first. They'll go to Nevada after that, then South Carolina. Interesting to note, South Carolina being the state that she is the former governor of, so has plenty of support in the state. And she thinks that those are states that could show that she is a viable alternative to Donald Trump. Ron DeSantis, though, all of those states I've just mentioned, he is expected to struggle in them. He put a lot of effort into Iowa, spent a lot of money, knocked on 1 million doors, held more events than both Haley and Trump combined. He's currently polling only at about 6% in New Hampshire compared to Trump with 40%, Haley with 30%. He could struggle there, is expected to in Nevada and South Carolina. There is some thinking that he might not last much longer within this race, even though he came second in Iowa, punching his ticket out of the state and moving on to New Hampshire. His team saying that he intends to compete in New Hampshire, but it's really a question of how long he holds on after that state contest, in particular if he has a very poor showing there.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting one to watch because it's not a done deal for Trump quite yet, Nick, it would seem. We talked about some of his court battles. We've been touching on it, but he is in New York today for that defamation trial. How is this juxtaposition of his potential futures shaping up for his presidential aspirations? And what could this mean for the Republican Party going forward if he does indeed emerge as the dominant candidate?
Yeah, very interesting that he is in New York. He doesn't have to attend the defamation trial today. It is just the start of that. We've got jury selection. But what we have seen from Donald Trump is using these court cases as an opportunity to campaign. Over the coming months, they are likely to coincide with times when he would rather be on the campaign trail. So instead, what we've seen, a tactic from him, is to switch things around and use these court appearances as an opportunity to campaign and an opportunity to push that message that seems to be playing very well with his voters, that all of these trials have been put together by Democrats to prevent him from re-entering the White House. So yes, he's in New York at the moment for the start of that defamation trial, but he will be in New Hampshire later on this evening holding a campaign event, pushing hard, trying to get his supporters motivated ahead of that state vote in a week's time, the New Hampshire primary.
Always on the move. And thank you, Nick Harper, for that update. We are certainly keeping an eye on this one. Our SABC News correspondent, Nick Harper, live for us there from Iowa.